Knows Best.
Hi, friends, and welcome back to Brenna Knows Best. I'm your host, Brenna Berg. Hi, how are you guys? Happy Monday. Okay, I just felt like being a little extra. You guys, this week's episode, we are going to talk about anxiety during the holidays, which maybe that's not the right way to say it. Honestly, I don't have that many updates. I was just thinking to myself, number one, last weekend, Carter and I did a date night with my best friend and her boyfriend, and it was so fun. We brought our games over to their house. We got Zalat pizza. We picked it up on the way, and they graciously hosted us. And the older I get, which I've always been this way, you guys know me, I barely have any friends. I'm like, I just like quality people in quality time. Like, we don't need to go out and do something crazy. I mean, don't get me wrong. I can't wait till me and Natalie can go to New York City and go on a trip and do fun things. But really all you need is good people and good company and just good vibes. And honestly, this has a lot to do with this episode today anyways. However, we went over, we played golf, the card game, we played sequence, and honestly it ended up just being about talking, and it was just so great. And me and Carter oftentimes just stay at home and do nothing, which don't get me wrong, I absolutely love, but I'm like, oh, that was so good. You know, when you see somebody or hang out, and this is how I feel when I see my girlfriends too, you just you leave so happy and you're like, oh, that was so great. Whereas I think that's the best indicator to tell if somebody's a good friend or not, or is good in your life, is how you leave that scenario. Because there are people in my past that I would leave and I'm drained. I felt like I didn't really get much out of it. I'm or which this isn't always a good indicator if you're looking forward to seeing that person, because oftentimes I get lazy last minute and don't want to go, but I'm still usually so excited to see my girlfriends. But if you have a friend and you're not excited because they ask you weird questions or their mood or this, I'm oh, is that a good person to have in your life? Other than that, LaDonna and Gordy. I called them this week because it was Gordy's birthday. He is 80 years old. And I honestly spoke to them. Well, I spoke to them the day before, and then I spoke to them that day for 3 hours on the phone because they moved finally their furniture. So they've done bits and bouts of moving furniture. They thought they were going to get new couches, but then they decided to keep it, and LaDonna's really not happy about it because their furniture is really chunky, but she just didn't want to deal with it anymore, which I totally understand. I'm it's snowing there already, so it's they got to get shit done. They need to get the house on the market, because the problem is, and I'm sure I've explained this before, Gordy's broken hip, LaDonna will have to take care of snow removal, which surely they could hire someone, but she just doesn't want to deal with it because it's falling on her, since Gordy is MIA when it comes to manual labor. But other than that, they've been in the house now for a while, and I spoke to them about the holidays, obviously. And this is something also with our potential engagement. Oh, we'll talk about that I've been feeling and I'm going to talk more at the end. I'm going to answer your guys' questions. I put a poll up on Instagram, but then I'm going to talk about my own stresses currently, stresses in the past, things with partners, things with family members. Because if you're a person and you have a perfect family, which there's no such thing, let's be so fucking for real, but if you don't feel holiday anxiety at all, I would implore you to listen, because I feel your friends might go through I feel everybody has something. There's always a weird dynamic to some extent. However, I was speaking to LaDonna and she was wait, what are you guys doing for Thanksgiving again? I'm Frams, we're going to Hawaii. And I said, by the way, I think I'm getting proposed to. And she said, oh my gosh, you're going to be a beautiful bride, or whatever, because she knows that we're not going to have a wedding, and she totally supports that decision, obviously. But then we were talking about Christmas and kind of working out those details, because Christmas is weird this year. Christmas is on a Wednesday, Christmas Eve is on a Tuesday, and people with jobs, obviously a lot of people are probably taking off Monday, but some people also work Christmas Eve. I'm pretty sure my father used to work Christmas Eve. No, I don't really know. And the big thing that I've been trying to figure out, obviously, because we're going to Thanksgiving, me and Carter are then going to Christmas at my family's, just because that's how we've worked it out, which we're going to talk about this. A lot of you asked how to navigate these certain conversations. And again, with those weird family dynamics, sorry, I was going to combine finamics, Maybe we could coin that. No, I'm just kidding. But family dynamics, it all looks different, and where you live and like those sorts of things. And again, I also want to preface that all of the things I'm going to talk about is obviously from my lens and like my point of view. And I've only dealt with, I'm not a dumb bitch, I swear, dealt with certain scenarios and certain family members and certain situations. So I can only speak on some things, but however, we're going to go there for Christmas, and I've just been waiting. Ooh, excuse me. I had like a hiccup. Oh my gosh, that like almost took me out. Okay. My brother. So you guys know, I have not seen my literal brother in 2.5 years. This man was my best friend growing up. Okay, that might be bold, but kind of. Like, me and my brother, you guys, were always very close. We didn't ever fight. Like, maybe when we were really little, but in the ages that I can remember, like, me and my brother just have such a good relationship. And I think that, you know, there are so many different scenarios in which kids can either get along or not, but since we had divorced parents from a really young age, and also my brother's personality, my brother is like the kindest, most gentle. He's not like a rough and rowdy man. That's not my brother. My brother is like a calm, gentle giant. He is 6'5", you guys, but he was a cross country runner, and he was always a nerd. And like, he still never drank to this day, which that's not like a big part of his personality, but I feel like it just gives you an idea of who he is. Like, he's just a good person. He believes in moral right and moral wrong, and he's just like a solid person. Okay, I love him to death. So as kids, like, he wasn't beating up on me. Like, I know some people have brothers and like they're so rough and rowdy. That's not Brandon. Okay, I was probably the more rambunctious one. Like, our parents always told us that if we were kind of getting into trouble, which we weren't, you guys, we were really good kids. We didn't get into actual trouble, like no bad things, but like dirty, you know, we're like exploring whatever. Brandon would always make me do the thing first. Like, if there was something like questionable or it didn't seem safe or there was potential harm, Brandon would convince me to do it, and I'm like, okay, and I would do it, and then he would follow if it was safe, and if it wasn't, I just got fucked up or I just got dirty. And I'm not talking, I don't even have a specific example, but just to give you an idea of my brother. However, Brandon left and went to the University of Minnesota in Minneapolis. Okay, that's where he went to college, and he's 2 years older. So like in high school, I was a 10th grader, he was a senior, a 12th grader. So he left, I went into my junior year and my senior year. He would come home for the holidays, and then I went to school in Fargo, which, let me give you a little geography lesson. Bismarck, our hometown, smack dab middle North Dakota. Okay. From Bismarck, you go east. Fargo is about, let's just coin it, 3 hours. Okay. Like 200 miles or something east. Okay. From Fargo, Minneapolis is like 3 hours, maybe 4 hours east in Minnesota. Okay, so from Bismarck to Minneapolis, that's like a 6-7 hour drive, but Fargo is like halfway in between. So once I went to college, every once in a while, like I would drive down to Minneapolis just to spend time in the city, because that's the closest city to us, and be with them obviously, and go to Timberwolves games and stuff. But even still, it was like holidays and whatever. Well, then I moved to Dallas, and in between this time, when I don't see him, like me and my brother, we go in spurts of like texting, but we don't talk on the phone. We don't like really FaceTime ever. Only a couple times when they got engaged and when they were pregnant at one time and she miscarried. When he got his wisdom teeth taken out and he was drugged up. Literally, those are the times he's FaceTime me, period. There's been no other times. I can count them, 3 on my fingers. But we text periodically. Now we talk a lot about finances. Like, we're both very into investing and just kind of like information, exercise. My brother's a runner, like random things, but it comes and it goes. Like, I'll go probably a month without speaking to him, but then we'll text about something random and like that's that, or the holidays or what have you. Okay, so I've been in Dallas now since 2019. So I would see him once for the holidays. There was a year where I was like dating this guy in Minneapolis. So I was like going there to like have fun and woo! So then I would see my brother. But other than that, they got married 2.5 years ago, and I have not seen them since. Because now, like, going to Minneapolis, it's fun and fine and fresh, but cost too. Like, I don't know, it just hasn't happened. And then I obviously started dating Carter a year and a half ago, and the funds have been tight, and we just haven't found time between law school and studying and then his job and then the bar. Like, it just has not worked out, and Brandon and Ash have not come here. But anyways, this year, so I was talking to LaDonna, we're still trying to figure out, but I think we're going to go the first half because Brandon has to work Thursday, Friday, right after Christmas. So he's going to come the weekend, either Saturday or Sunday, and then leave Christmas Day. They're going to drive back. And me and Carter are going to come for that same period of time. And so, yeah, I've just been thinking about this and talking about it. And LaDonna, honestly, some of the stress I feel is for her. Okay, because this is how we do holidays in the Berg family or in my family. And as a child, also with divorced parents, on Thanksgiving, now I'm trying to think, when did we see our mom? In the morning maybe, or the night before, or the day after, probably the day after. Thanksgiving is like an afternoon meal, and it's always at LaDonna and Gordy's. LaDonna and Gordy have hosted every holiday, Easter, every single holiday they do, and nobody helps. LaDonna does all of the food, and now as an adult, I'm like, oh my gosh, this poor woman. But as a kid, it's just like what it was. And there's so many other things like you realize, and like, I don't know, gosh, I get so philosophical, but anyways, that doesn't matter. And then Christmas, we always did Christmas Eve at LaDonna and Gordy. So we would wake up at my dad's house, and then, yeah, we would go to LaDonna and Gordy's at some time. We would do a Christmas Eve dinner and then open gifts. LaDonna and Gordy balled out for us as kids, like got us all the equal amount of presents. She always decorated so great. And then we would go back to my father's house. We would wake up, and then he would immediately drive us to my mother's house, and then we would do Christmas Day at my mom's house. So we would open gifts right away. We would eat like lunch and whatever. That's how I've done Christmas quite literally every single Christmas my whole entire life. Okay, up into adulthood, because obviously when I come home has changed and yada yada, but my parents have lived in the same houses my entire life, and so it always made the most sense. It always, this person lives here. My parents lived like 5 minutes from one another, so it was super easy. But anywho, back to the plot. Okay, so talking to LaDonna about it, and I'm not really sure. I also, again, I have my immediate family, and then I have, the extended. So LaDonna has 2 sons. My dad has a brother, and then their families. And like they all come and go at kind of different times, because everybody, like my whole family's fucked up. There's so many divorces, which I'm sure, I'm not shitting on anybody. I'm just saying, because I feel like a lot of people can go through this. So my cousins come and go at different times. And like, I get it, because everybody's trying to get to certain family members. It's just a lot. And for a lot of people, and when you're scrolling on TikTok, you see like all of the decorating and all of like the traditions, and it seems like such a magnificent, wonderful time. But for a lot of people, it's stressful. There's like a lot of guilt. It's like trying to appease people, but wanting to be with your loved ones. But then there's this weird, relationship with your uncle or with your fucking mother. And it's just like, it seems on the outside like, oh, the holidays, like everybody talks, but it's really fucking stressful and can be hard for a lot of people. And we're going to talk about so many different dynamics. You could be grieving a loved one, and I just want to like validate you. And also like in your decisions to do things, I got a lot of questions like, Brenna, I'm thinking about not going to my parents', Christmas, and they're really upset about it. Like, should I just go? And we're going to talk about it all. But anyways, really back 1 second to the update. So that's that. We're going to go home for Christmas. I'm super excited for Carter to see the brand new house. Carter is going to meet my mother for the first time. I think we'll be engaged by the time we go home for Christmas. And this is another stress inducing point, which I'm going to talk about later. And we're going to be engaged, and he has not met my mother, which is not that like crazy to me, because he's quite literally only been to Bismarck one time, and we didn't see her the last time. He also hasn't met my brother, which like in my head, I'm like, that's crazy. And to you guys, it might seem odd, but it's like, I haven't even seen my own brother in 2.5 years. Since, Carter and I have been together, I haven't seen my brother with my own eyes. Okay. So that's that. So I'm super excited about those things, obviously. And yeah, but let me get in. Oh, engagement. okay, obviously can't leave you guys hanging. I don't know what the fuck is going on, you guys. I have a really big suspicion that Hawaii is it, because the only reason I was involved for a hair is because we went ring shopping at different places, and then there's Olive Ave. And so I was just trying to like be in the know, like, hey, reach out to them, whatever. But then I'm like, okay, I don't need to know the rest. Like, I'm just going to put you in contact with the people that I know, that we know, and the rest is history. But we were talking about it one night, and he just seems really urgent. Like he was trying to hear back from somebody, and he's like trying, cause rings take, like Blue Nile told us, 6 to 8 weeks. And it varies because they obviously put the diamond in the ring and then ship it, and it needs to go to a store. Obviously you don't just get that shit delivered to your house. That would be very not safe. And that's why I think Hawaii, but I also don't know. Like Carter, he keeps like giggling, and he's like, I can't wait to tell you everything. Oh, I mentioned this on my Instagram story, how he was like, babe, you would not believe the admin that I'm doing, because Carter hates admin. He hates paying the bills, not because of like financial reasons, but just like doing little tasks. Like when we moved into this apartment, he was the one who found, you guys know, I like popped in right around that time. So he was setting up electricity, doing like getting the groceries, like all of those like stupid little things he hates doing, and I enjoy it. So I'm so glad, like I'm gonna be the one doing the bills, taking care, which I already do most of these things anyways. However, I finally attached Carter's bank onto our rent, because he would just always Venmo me, and I'm like, babe, why don't I just do it? I'll let you know when I'm paying it, but like just add it here so you don't have to think about it. You know, like, let me take care of what I can take care of. But he was like, babe, you would not believe the admin that I'm doing. And like, if it shows anything, how much I love you, like, this is it, because you're going to be like, what the fuck? And that, I'm like, babe, wait, what's going on? Because I thought for sure it was going to be a simple something. I wasn't expecting like a videographer or a photographer. And I still don't know. I have no idea, obviously, but that makes me think, obviously, like if there's moving parts, I don't know. It's all speculation. I don't know, but look forward to that. Oh, and then also, you guys, a Carter reveal. I think it might happen. And I've talked to a few people about this on Instagram message. Here's the thing, like, we will be going to events and stuff, and like photos are just posted online anyways. And I know to a lot of you, you're like, why can't you just reveal him already? Not any of the people that like actually love me and get it. So like probably not any of you listening to the pod, because you get me on a deep level, but I don't think you actually realize, number one, Carter, like he has not had a social media since 2018 or something. And like, he is not online. So if he can keep that, obviously, you know, he has a real career, where a lot of influencers that you see, some of them do have careers. However, some of them don't. They don't do anything, or they have their own business, or like they're living off of their influencer wife, which is like fine and dandy, but it doesn't matter. Whereas the amount of like hate and things, especially from men, now that I'm on IG Reels, like of course I say things and like men get fucking offended. You just don't know what lengths people will go to. And again, it terrifies me that it could affect him. And so I'm just like, I don't know the right or wrong thing. But then I think I'm like, at some point, you know, we're going to go to, for example, the charity now that I'm working with, or the Genesis Women's Shelter, like we're going to go to the big ball in February, and it's like, they're probably going to be photos and we're going to have no control. So it's like, I may as well just post. Like, it's not a big deal, but you know, it's something to think about. It's like posting your children online. And for regular people that have a private thing and like do whatever you want, but me, like I could never do that. Like I do not want photos of my children's face all over anywhere. You know, like once it's on there, it's on there. And honestly, I kind of feel like even though Carter's an adult, it's like he has wiped himself from the internet. So it's like, yeah, I don't ever like, it is not worth it. So I don't know. We'll see. We're going back and forth. We need to talk about it some more. And I want to see how he feels. Carter is like a conspiracy theorist. I'm not sure how you say it. Not a conspiracy theorist, but like he's just very more aware of those things than I am. Like he's the one who kind of went into the deep dive with me on like children being posted online, and like he's not wrong, and he's opened my eyes like to safety and security. Oh my gosh, you guys, like it's a joke, but like the pepper spray, like so many things that could happen. Almost like obviously you don't want to be paranoid, but I'm like, no, I totally get it and I respect it. And honestly, if I didn't do social media for a living, I don't think I would have social media. Like when I decided to start posting, it was like, okay, am I done with social media or should I use it to my advantage to like help people and like make money, you know? And that's what I decided. But I understand 100% where he's coming from. So we'll see. Obviously, I'm going to share things with you there. I just think it'll probably happen. And I feel like if I just like post it and be done with it, then that's it. I'm not just like all of a sudden going to start posting Carter because I never want to do that. I don't want to take away from my real life to post on social media. Like that to me is like, no. But for like this special moment and you guys have been here and obviously it's the engagement, I just feel like, and I want to like be excited with you guys and I think it would be so fun. But we'll decide that when it comes. However, let's freaking talk about the topic. I'm going to do the questions first, and I'm sure I'll dive into my own thing with these questions, you know, my own thoughts, things that I've been through. And then we'll talk more at the end just about my own concerns and my partner's family and holidays and all of the things. Okay. First question. How do you decide what family to go and see for dinner without one getting upset? And like I just said, we have had a fixed situation forever. So for me, it is just decided. Or like, for example, we might be leaving on Christmas Day. Like I'm just going to talk to my mom and it depends. Here's my issue is like, why are people not chill? Why are family members not cool? Like I understand parents wanting to be with their children for the holidays, but if your child comes to you and they just like are exhausted and don't want to travel across the country, or even still, if they live in the same town, but they now are married with kids and just like don't have the bandwidth, like I will never understand being mad at somebody for making a decision that is best for them. Like I just cannot understand that. And not everybody is like that. And a lot of people aren't like that. So this question, how do you decide what family to go and see for dinner without one getting upset? And this is going to be my answer for a lot of things when you're trying to decide, but you don't want to hurt other people's feelings. Do what's best for you. And this is hard when you're a younger adult. Like I've come more and more into myself and my confidence and making decisions for me and not feeling guilt tripped. And even if somebody is trying to guilt trip me, that I'm doing what's good for me, I think that you do what's best for you. And here's the thing, you're either going to feel like, for example, I had a message and this one was longer. So she messaged me in the messaging app. Okay. Podcast cues, but too long for the box. I've been wanting to stay home / not travel for the holidays recently. My fam is all over the US, but I feel guilty if I leave either parent alone for the holidays. It's definitely sad for them to be alone. And I see that, but also I'm burnt out from the busy trips and family drama. Any advice? Do I suck it up and go? And here are like the options. So you suck it up and go. Okay, so you're there and you're miserable and you don't want to be there and you're exhausted. You're not even putting your best foot forward just to appease somebody. So you have like bad feelings about that. You're doing something that you didn't want to do in the first place. Or you don't go. And here's the reality. Like you probably will feel guilt. Like there's always going to be weird feelings no matter what you decide. So it's what you can live with. Like for me, I feel guilt as well. Like when I go home, one of the issues I have is not spending equal time with each set of family members. And there's one person in particular who makes me feel bad about it. And I have decided that I can live with that. And I do. I feel guilt. The last time I went home, I cried my eyes out my whole 2.5 hour drive home because I felt bad that I was making them feel bad, but I need to do what's best for me. If being around a certain family member or parties or whatever makes you feel like shit and it's not fun for you and it sucks, like to me would rather step aside, feel the guilt, because you're going to feel that regardless if you are a human being who is trying to do good, and it is what it is. Like you're going to feel some sort of bad emotion. I would always do what you want to do. And again, if you are a full-blown grown adult like me, 27, I still kind of feel like a kid, but I'm finally getting to this place where I'm placing boundaries and deciding what's best for me and not just doing things because it's been this way or because somebody's telling me to do something. No, I'm an adult. Like I'm going to do what I'm going to do. But that does not mean that I'm not going to feel guilt about it, that I'm not going to be sad, that I'm hurting somebody's feelings. And it sucks. And like, this is a lot of where my feelings come from during the holidays. But I told this girl, I answered her and I'm like, in my opinion, do what's best for you. Stay home. Like if you are feeling that, apologize and say, Mom and Dad, I love you. This has nothing to do with you, obviously. And here's the thing, like, I think any normal person could understand that. Like, never has somebody said something to me like a friend backs out of plans or or whatever. And I'm like, oh, they hate me or like, poor me. I'm sorry. If somebody's like relying on you for their sole happiness, like that to me is toxic, which I know it's like deeper than that and I get it. But like, honestly, like if especially it's your parents, like if they love you and care about you, they will understand. Like, of course they can be sad. That I get. Like, yes, they would want their children home for the holidays, but they should also, above all, want their children to be happy and healthy and do what's best for them. So I would encourage to this girl, and then also the question, let me pull it back up, like deciding between dinners. Do whatever you feel called to do and do your best to see the people that you feel obligated to see, but take care of you. Because here's another thing, like, I wanted to touch on last week's episode about the bachelorette situation with, my brother's wife's sister. And my brother's wife is an angel. She played no part in those dynamics. It was all the bridal party because that the bridal party plans the bachelorette trip, like it was 100% her sister. Like Ashley had no part in this. Okay, I just wanted to say. However, after the whole dynamics of that girl saying she couldn't afford to go on the trip, she left the group. I was like secretly texting her on the side, like apologizing the way that she was being talked to and treated. And I was standing up for her in the group chat as well. They ended up not doing the Miami thing, but ended up doing a trip to Atlanta. And like a week before, the sister texted me privately and was like, hey, just wanted to re-invite you to this. Like, we would love for you to come. And it's like, at this point, I don't want to go. And the moral of the story and why I brought this up is like, you go, and if you're gonna go and just be miserable and not have fun and be annoyed that you're there, like to me, your absence is better than that. Like in my own, like when they re-invited me to the thing, it's like, I'm gonna go. You guys aren't even gonna want me there, or like whatever the holiday thing is. Like my relative gets upset with me. And one time I went home and we went and did something. And the whole time I was miserable and she knew it. And we're sitting there and I'm like, what the fuck is the point of this? Like, I would rather not go, take care of myself and like only have good interactions. Like sometimes when we force things, it's like, what was the good in that? Actually, it was just bad. Like I had a miserable time. You had a miserable time because I was in a bad mood. You know what I mean? Like, think about that as well. And I think about that sometimes with friends. I have a friend right now going through a little tiff with one of her other friends, and her other friend has been mad because she bails and whatever and so on and so forth. And again, I can't understand that. Like, I'm never going to be mad at somebody. I'm never really mad at anybody for anything. Like, you do what you need to do. But anyways, it's like, okay, but I'm going to come and be miserable anyway, so it wouldn't be that fun. Like, I'm under that belief. It's like, yeah, why would you want this person to come when they are not going to have a good time? Like, to me, it's better that you don't come. Like, I'm just under that belief system. So that is my answer to that. Go to the dinner you want to go to, apologize to the other, and that's that. Okay, moving right along. I'm going to do my best to have fun ones and then also non-fun ones, like keep it light, but also, I don't know, I'm going to try. However, somebody asked, it's our first holiday season in a house rather than a studio apartment, and we are hosting. Any hosting tips? No. You guys, the closest thing we've done to hosting was over graduation weekend when we did have all of my family and all of Carter's family, but we have a 1-bedroom. Our couch didn't even fit more than 3 people. So we were like, this stool that I'm sitting on, I had these all out there. And like I've said many times before, everybody should just be happy to be there. If somebody's mad at how you host, that's a them problem. Obviously, just like have fun, do what you can. Also, don't be afraid to ask for help. Like if you need somebody to bring something. I know some people, like there are rules to hosting. Some people are like by the book and there's a certain way to do it. And I'm never going to be that bitch. Like that's not my calling. Some women like love that and are good at it. Nanny mom like hosted everything and was so good at it. And she would write out a schedule when she's cooking, when this is happening, picking up that and this and the other. Just do your best. And if it's your family, obviously, like they're going to love and appreciate it. And nothing can actually go wrong. Oftentimes we put so much pressure on these stupid little bullshits. And it's like, what is the worst that can happen? Like the food gets fricked up, like something is burnt, or you forgot this or that. Like everybody's gonna live, okay? But that's so exciting. I can't wait till we have a home. Oh my gosh, and we're out of this apartment and we can host, which I don't know if that will ever be in our future just because our families are so far away. But once we have a family and can do things on our own, I cannot wait. Next, how to deal with being newly single and telling people why you're alone. I got this question a lot. Either being newly single and like that everybody's expecting you to bring your boyfriend and now you don't have one and it's awkward and you're gonna have to tell them. It's fine. Like every single person, I think about that because I've been in that scenario. Like they've all been through breakups. All of my family members have been through divorces. Like nobody really gives a fuck. Like, yeah, they might be like, oh, where's Jeremy? And you're like, Jeremy's a fucking asshole and he's not here. They'll be like, okay. The other thing I got is people saying that they're single and like the freaking aunt that's like, why aren't you single? Which at this point in my life, like if that were to be me, I would be an asshole, which I know that in years past I wouldn't be. But I would just say like, I'm totally like, yeah, I'm single. I'm dating. If you know anybody, send them my way. But yeah, like what a bizarre thing to be asking in 2024. You could also say like some mean things to make them think like, do you want me to be in a miserable marriage like you, Aunt Jan? Like why, what's wrong with being single? Also, like we in moments of time are like, yes, right now, let's say Aunt Kathy and Uncle Dave are together and you're single and she's like, why aren't you single? 3 years from now, they're getting a divorce. And then you can ask, why are you single? Like, it's just such a bizarre thing. And it's as if it's bad. Like, for whatever reason as a society, and I get it, we want families. And like, if that's your goal, that's your goal. And I love that. However, being in a relationship versus being single, one is not better than the other. It's just like a moment in time. Like, I just can't even wrap my head around that. Like, I would never ask one of my girl cousins, like, why aren't you still single? What the fuck are you talking about? And it's also none of your goddamn business. And it's always the people too that like my extended family, for example, on my mom's side, like I barely see these people anymore. And I see them and they're like that. Like they ask me bizarre questions. I'm like, I don't even know you. I literally don't even know you just because. And I'm under the belief, oh, this is probably a disclaimer I should have said. Like, I'm not the person that's like, family is family. I'm like, if you are fucking rude to me, I don't care that you're my family. Goodbye. Like, I'm not one of those people that blood is thicker than water. No, that's like, nope. I'm surrounding myself with people who I would consider family. My best friend, Natalie, my whoever's like, I just like don't believe in that sentiment at all, because just because we're family doesn't mean you get to be an asshole. Doesn't mean you treat me a certain way. Doesn't mean I actually know you. I have so many family members that I don't even know. It's like, okay, yeah, technically we are family. You're my aunt because my mom is the youngest of 11. Like, hello, but it's like, I don't know you. So I would answer this however you want. Ugh, I'm sorry. It is just like annoying. And honestly, like if you are triggered by that or upset, I would also then like look inward and also just think like, who cares? This is like a moment in time. Okay, I get it. Every single cousin now is married and has like a little one. And it like, if that's your goal in life and you want to be in a relationship and have kids, like it's on the way. Like just because it's not right now doesn't mean it's not happening. And you can be sad, of course, that it's not there yet. You're not there yet. But it also doesn't make you less than. It means nothing, right? That's just not where you're at right now. Who's to say next Christmas? Like, tell Aunt Jackie to fuck off, because that's honestly so annoying. Like, what? Just in general, like people asking that, and the holidays in specific, just because everybody, it's supposed to be family and love and tradition and kids, and I get it. But it's also like, just because I'm 27 years old and single or 50 years old and single, like, again, these people, number one, Aunt Jackie, you've been divorced, or who knows? Like, also, Aunt Jackie, what? Do you want me to be in a miserable marriage like you? I know I already said that, but like, truthfully, if any of my family members were to say, I'd be like, what? Because like, I want to live a life like you? No. Okay, so go about that. However, I would never like, don't entertain it. Just say something quick that's like, oh yeah, like I'm dating, I'm doing fine. Like if you know anybody, let me know. Don't like try and like get into that conversation. You know, you don't need to explain to them why being single is like low key better than being in a relationship sometimes if you're with the wrong person. Like it's just not worth it with Aunt Jackie with her head in the clouds to get into that conversation. So that's what I feel about that. Oh, this was a good question because I actually have personal experience with this. Not personal, but a friend. She said, I have anxiety about my aggressive dog meeting my brother's new puppy at the holidays. And you guys, this is so dark but it's real. I had a friend in college who her like aunts and uncles who I think already were like not on good terms. One of their dogs like quite literally like fucked up the other dog. Like I'm talking, I think lost an eyeball. Sorry, not to get gruesome, but too late. And I think they ended up like suing the other one. It was like this whole thing. Like this is like very real. I would say, and I know this can be annoying because they got a new puppy, just separate them. For example, when May came with us to Christmas last year at Carter's, like, I don't think it was their family dog, but his sister's dog is a pit bull and like is nice to people, but I think is weird with dogs. We just locked May up. We're like, it's not worth it. We don't want our little baby to get harmed. And if you're the one with the aggressive dog, like I would just work that out with your brother. Like, can you leave the dog at home? Can you like lock him somewhere? Can he stay outside? Like, I don't know the dynamics, but like to say that story about my friend, like it could be bad. Like just avoid that at all costs. And I know it can be annoying. Like your brother gets to have his puppy out because he's not the aggressive one. And I know it can turn into this weird thing, but like, it doesn't need to be that. Just like look out for the safety of the dogs and people. Like when dogs, you just never know, that could be so bad so quickly. So I would just do what you can to manage your dog and your dog's safety and the other dogs. Like, again, we just locked May up when she's not like the problem, but it was just like, we didn't want anything to happen to her. And that way we could take her potty. We could just pick her up and whatever. So just figure that out with your brother, but it's not worth like literal harm or just like fighting with him. Okay. Do you think it's appropriate to combine gifts for family from you and your partner? Yeah, totally. Me and Carter do everything from us. You can obviously do individual. It's whatever you and your partner want to do. But we combine. We just say from Carter and Brenna. Okay, next. And this is a good one because I can relate. How not to feel less than coming from a dysfunctional family versus my partner having a happy family life. Bitch, I get it. I get it. In my current relationship, in a past relationship, like I remember spending Christmas with, which again, even like the happy, wonderful, perfect looking families have their own shit. Don't get it twisted. Christmas last year for us was not an easy feat. I'm not going to go into the details, but there were some issues that had to be squashed. However, okay, I get it because I have divorced parents and this Christmas and that Christmas and that Christmas. Carter, quite literally, his parents are together and both sets of grandparents. He only has 4 grandparents, the 2 on each side, and then his parents. No dysfunction. No, not no dysfunction, but not in like that immediate setup. But also like, there is dysfunction. You just don't see it. And maybe you haven't yet. And even if there isn't, like, it doesn't matter. And where you come from does not matter. Like that has nothing to do with you. And this is sometimes where a lot of my anxiety stirs. And I'm going to get into this now because it kind of just popped into my brain. Carter and I will probably be engaged by the time we go home. And this is going to sound really dumb on the surface level, but I hope that you guys get the deeper meaning and understand where I'm coming from. Carter, I think, is going to get me a ring that is not small. Okay. I don't want it to be like huge and tacky and whatever, but like Carter wants to ball out. Okay. And I love that. And here's the thing. And this is what I battle is like me in my Dallas life. Like I want a wonderful ring. Okay. Sue me. Like I want a bling ring like that, you know, and this is where the problem comes in. I was raised, obviously, not a lot of money, modest. My dad quite literally is just like, he does not care about materialistic things at all. Like that man has never driven a car newer than 2000. Like this man's never had a car payment. This man could give 2 shits less about looking rich. He just doesn't care about those things. And it's not that he spits on people with money. Like he doesn't care about that. But you know, he's made comments like, for example, like some bitch driving a Range Rover in Bismarck. And he's like, that's just like a status symbol. You know, like they just want to show that they have wealth. And it's not wrong. Like, it's totally not wrong at all. You're not buying the Range Rover because it's like a perfect and wonderful car. They're not bad cars, but like, hello. But here I am, like, I do believe that. But like, if I could get a Range Rover and drive that, like, I am that bitch now. Like, I would love that. You know, like, I want to have money. I want like a nicer home. Like, that is fine. And that's okay. But when I go home, you know, you kind of revert into like the kid that you were when you're around your parents and like the beliefs and the things. So sometimes like I feel awkward for like wanting things and for, you know, even just like Carter's parents or grandparents taking us all to Hawaii. Like sometimes, and my family doesn't have ill will at all. Like they don't give a fucking tit. However, it still feels weird. I'm like, yeah, his grandpa, you know, like is paying for us all to go. And like, I don't think that makes anybody feel a certain way, but it is just like, you know, my family couldn't do that. And like, I don't ever want to make them feel bad because who gives a shit? Like you could have grandpa who pays for things, but like the dysfunction, again, not saying that there is, but like money is not everything. Money does not buy happiness, like completely. But like when I go home, I just, so one of my anxieties has been coming home with this big old ring on my hand. And it's like really giving me anxiety. Like, not that anybody cares and nobody would ever say anything, but like, I just know my dad, for example, like he just doesn't believe in like flashy and like whatever, you know, but here, like I'm now turning into this person where I don't think I'm overtly like that person, but I do like nicer things. And I see also, again, not with a diamond ring in specific because bigger doesn't mean better, but just like in quality things. And my dad's just not that person. And LaDonna and Gordy, like they would never judge, but like it just is like, I don't even understand it completely. And my mom, like, I'm almost already embarrassed. And like, for what? Because Carter's getting me a nice ring. Like, it's not something, but it is this feeling deep inside of me that I think about. I'm like, oh, should I have went smaller? Like, should I tell him to like make it smaller because my family like might feel weird about it? Like, that is dumb. I know on the surface, it's all dumb. Like, this is like a dumb thing I'm even talking about, but it is something I feel. I'm so sorry. I'm looking at the camera and it's so dark. If you're watching this, it's stormy out and my light just is like not blanging in. I apologize. However, this is like something that I've been battling. And how did I get here? Do you think it's important? What was the question? Oh, how to not feel less than from a dysfunctional family, which this has nothing to do with dysfunction, but like, I do understand that there's just like these deep rooted things that you feel. And when you're around, like, let's say your boyfriend's family is like the perfect family and you're around them, it's like, you feel like you feel like desire. You're like, why didn't I have this? And I used to feel like way more sort of resentment just to like other people, not partners, but it stirs up so many feelings. Or just like, even if you're on the same, like, let's say income level, but like, yeah, you have the alcoholics and like your boyfriend's family, for example, my boyfriend's family, they're Mormon. They don't drink. Like they are really just like a goody two shoes, like good, solid family. Not to say like this has nothing to do. My family's not bad, but there's more dysfunction. Totally. Which again, but there are ways that this like shines through. Like my family, the only thing they care about is like family time and quality time. And there's no drama in my family. Like everybody in my family just live and let live. Like, the one thing I will say is Carter and I, when we were at the Arboretum the other day, we were talking about raising children. And like, if we want it, the question was like, are you, or do you believe in, you know, being strict with your children or being more easygoing? And this is a little bit different, but I'm like, the one thing I do want to be is like my parents, where they let me be. My parents have never pressured me. They never try and tell me what to do. Like they don't say those weird things. Why are you still single? Like, when are you going to give me grandkids? Like they do none of that. They don't like press. They don't try and get me to do things or whatever. They just let us live. Like, for example, I know a family here in Dallas, and I think it's more of a mom thing because dads don't really care about these sort of like little nitpicky things, but the mom so badly wants her two children to get along. Okay, they are so different. They are so very different, and just like, not that they don't get along, they're cordial, but they're not best friends. And the mom tries to, you need to apologize to your sister, and like, are in there trying, like, I don't want to be that mom. I'm not going to force my children to do things that they don't want to do. And I love that about my family. So like when I go home, there's never really any of that. Oh my gosh, bitch, where are you going with this? I'm just talking to talk, and hopefully you can relate to some of these things. But what I was saying is, like, even though like this picture perfect family, like sometimes I'm like, I'm glad my family, like, yeah, they're a little bit dysfunctional, but they like love me and they don't try and like get in my life and make me do things. And that's important to me. I'm realizing as an adult, like, I love that Carter has a close relationship with his family, and they're not so much in our business, but he talks to them a lot, and they just like are way more like nosy into our stuff. And I've just never experienced that. Like, my family just doesn't give a fuck. They don't even call. Like, I text my dad every couple of months. He said, "How are you doing, little girl?" And I say, "I'm good. How are you guys?" Or I'll give an update if there's an update, and he's like, "We're great. Just went on a trip." And then I talk to him in the next 2 or 3 months. Like, that's just how we are. But number one, just like, it's hard. I completely understand it. You feel so many emotions. Like, you feel, jealousy, like resentment. You feel embarrassed. Like, Carter coming home, and some things I'm like, oh, is this a bad look? Like, there are certain things that I'm not going to talk about because I don't want to hurt people's feelings if anybody were to listen to this in my family. But I'm just like, oh my gosh, is that person going to say something stupid? Are they going to make a buffoon of themselves? Is this person going to be drunk? And like, Carter comes from this family where people don't drink. They do what they say. Like, it's just like way more, I don't know, way more less dysfunctional, or way less dysfunctional, you know, which again, not to say that it's bad. And some people like that. It's funny, like it's whatever, but I get it, girl. And it's going to be okay. And if your partner's with you, they love you and they don't hold that against you, that your family is dysfunctional, that has nothing to say with who you are. Like, that has no say in the person that you are. And it doesn't make you any less worthy. And it doesn't make you any less of a human being. Like, you were just born into this family. You had no say in that. But what you and your partner create is what's important. And that's all. Next. Okay, I need to get through these quicker. This one's a little bit longer. It was sent in a message. She said, how to navigate the Christmas season when with your partner and their family and not yours. Okay, background. I've been with my boyfriend for 1.5 years. I moved 15 hours away from my family and live with my boyfriend and his brother next door to his parents. I only get 2 days off for Christmas. I am having a lot of stress and guilt surrounding the Christmas season, as this is the first time I will be... this is like a typo. This is the first time I will not be home for the holidays. My sister probably won't be going to see my parents at this time either. How do I balance FaceTiming my parents and being present with my boyfriend and his family? I would just carve out time, like ask your boyfriend what's like the typical go around, like what time do you eat, do things, and call your parents in the morning and middle of the day. I don't know. It depends on how close you are. Like, just schedule it out and then be there with his family. Like, I know that's hard. And for people that have traditional jobs, like you aren't able to go, 2 days off. Like, it's Tuesday and Wednesday. So if you live far from your family, this is another thing. Like, in previous years, I had not even gone home. I would go home for Thanksgiving and not for Christmas, or vice versa. Also, because they're back to back and it's a lot of money to fly home. So it stinks. But again, hopefully they understand. And then next year you can figure out, maybe do Thanksgiving with his family and Christmas. Again, ongoing conversations, but do what you need to do. And just carve out some time. And your boyfriend should understand that, obviously, and his family. Like, that's sad not to be with your own family. It is like a hard thing for a lot of people just transitioning. Like, most of us, most women and men, you know, you're single and you go home for every single holiday, and then you get a partner and now you have to navigate. And for people that are really close with their family, that's hard, but you figure out a rhythm and do what's best for you. And I'm not opposed, like people who split and do holidays separate. Of course, that's not ideal, but I understand why people do it. To me, like, I get it. And again, this is my personal beliefs, is the day is like, it doesn't matter. And some people would be like, oh my gosh, that's not true. But to me, it's like, okay, for example, if Carter and I were spending it separately, like we can have our own Christmas the week before, which we are going home to my family. But I'm just saying, hypothetically, like last year, we didn't do Thanksgiving together. Like, we did a little dinner the weekend before. Like, we still were together and did our thing. So I think there's ways to navigate. Or if you are with your partner, but then you're going home to see your family a couple weeks after, it's like, do a little faux holiday thing then. Like, really what matters is being together. But I think you'll, just FaceTime FaceTime them, make a little plan, and all will be well. And you'll be sad. Again, it's okay to feel the feelings. I'm not going to sit here and say like, you shouldn't be sad. You're doing this and doing that. But like, you're going to have sad feelings. You're going to feel guilt. You're going to feel all sorts of not good feelings, but it's also a part of life. And hopefully you can be present and enjoy the time with your partner's family, even though obviously you probably see them all the time. If you live next door, that's really hard. I get that. And it probably feels unfair, but hopefully you get to see them soon. Oh, somebody asked a great question. Finances. Buying Christmas gifts this year is a pain. Don't. Give everybody a goddamn hug and say, this is what I can afford, because for real, money is so tight. And if you have the privilege of getting everybody a gift, that's amazing. Gifting is just hard in general. I got a lot of questions like what to get a boyfriend or what to get boyfriend's family. It's like, you guys talk that out. Ask your boyfriend what his parents do and do not enjoy, or just look up a stupid gift guide and get the mom like a candle or a photo of you guys, or like something that like is neutral ground, a mug. Like, I'm not very good at gifts, to be honest. And honestly, my family doesn't really do gifts. Like, I don't really ever get anybody, or I haven't in recent years given them gifts. So I'm not the person to ask, but if it's for your partner's family, like, yeah, just talk to your boyfriend and figure that out. And also, if money is tight, like, money is tight. And I think everybody can understand that right now. Like, a lot of people are in that position. So it is what it is. Next, what's your favorite tradition, or what's a tradition you want to start with Carter? Honestly, I have no tradition and I don't know what we'll start. I would love to do something that'll probably start when we have children, but I don't really know. Again, I come from, and this is like the difference in families. Like, Carter comes from a family where like holidays are everything. Well, and also they're hyper religious, so like they love all of this stuff, and his mom like decorated, and like they literally go balls to the walls. We just went there in October or maybe even September, and like Halloween was already out and like everything was Halloween themed. I'm like, holy fuck. My family's just not that way. Like, I'm not like a deeply holiday tradition person. I love being with my family, but it doesn't like deeply move me. So I don't know. Carter will be in charge of doing the traditions or helping me start traditions, because I'm not good at that kind of thing. Oh, this is a great question. How to survive entire days spent with boyfriend's fam. So grateful, but can be a lot. Totally. Like, especially when it's the extended fam. Like, I've been in this situation with previous boyfriends, and Christmas last year we went to Carter's grandparents and it was like the whole fam. It is hard. You feel awkward at times. Like, you might not vibe with everybody. You have like this weird small talk. Some people don't talk. Some people talk too much. It is painful. Just being around people for me in general, even my closest friends, if I were with them all day long, that's a lot. That's a lot. Like, I'm a person who needs my own space. Do what you can. Take your caffeine. Make sure you do all of the things that you can control. Okay. And then send up a prayer, because I get it. Yeah, that's all I have on that one. Really, there's nothing you can do. It's just a lot. Even being with my own family, like spending all day with people. This kind of goes with last week's topic about weddings. Like, weddings being the entire fucking day, like being a bridesmaid and you're there getting your makeup done at 9 and the reception is until like fucking midnight. It's just too long of a day in general. Like, I can't be doing anything for an entire day. Okay, so I feel that. Okay, I'm not sure if this one is a question, but she said, I've always been really anxious at family gatherings, especially with my dad's side. I don't think that it's a must. You should spend time and get to know your relatives, but usually there are only a few that you actually connect with. This is kind of a run-on sentence. Totally feel that. I'm just like, if you guys were to tell me to make a law, it's to do whatever the fuck you need to do. Like, it's hard, and creating boundaries is hard, and maybe suggesting a new tradition. Like, if you've always gone to fucking Grandma Betsy's house and you've had enough, and your dad, like, that is just the norm, maybe suggest doing something different, or maybe then go to your mom's side. Like, I'm just no longer, like, my whole childhood and up into like college and early adulthood, you do the things that your parents want you to do, and it's a weird transition between kid and adult, because it's not like a hard line. It's not like, oh, you're an adult and you make your own decisions. But I am so deeply like, I am no longer doing what I don't want to do. Nobody is no longer forcing me. I am an adult, and just because that might piss off my dad or my mom that I don't want to do this or that, like, that is a them problem. I need to take care of me and do what I want to do. That is my answer to everything. Next. Okay, would it be wrong if I wanted to spend a holiday dinner with my own fam, then see my boyfriend after? No, that's not wrong. Just have a conversation with your boyfriend. And here's the thing. Just think about, like, in these scenarios, like when you're talking to your partner and you say you want to spend time with your family and not his. Like, think about how he's receiving that potentially. And not everybody. I'm just saying, like, he could be feeling hurt and immediately assume you don't like his family, or like there's so many ways. So I would just like say, hey, this is what I want to do. I just like really love my time with my family. It has nothing against you, it has nothing against your family. Like, quite literally has nothing to do with you. Just like reassure and like have that conversation. And I think if that's the love of your life, they would understand. Oh, this is a good one. Navigating lots of time with your family when your family is a little unhealthy and toxic. Honestly, do what you need to do to feel good. Like, be a part of Christmas Day or whatever. But if you can opt out, opt out. Like, if there are things you don't need to do, again, like I just said, take care of yourself. And this is a hard thing. Oh, I actually know a couple and they're married. They have 2 children. They live in a town where her husband, his parents had him. It was like a knocked up situation. So he was had, and then his mom and dad went on to build families, and he was kind of like the forgotten child. I mean, he was like raised by his mom and like they did custody, but like kind of feels that way. Okay. And they both live in the same town where they live. The wife, my friend, her parents live like an hour away. So they try and like obviously do whatever. And they have 2 kids. So it's like the grandchildren. And they have thought about literally moving out of this town because they just feel like, yeah, grandparents want to see them and take family photos. And like they're the ones hustling and bustling around to appease everybody else. And it's like not even what they want to do. They always feel awkward. Like, it's a weird thing. And she's like, we almost are going to move because we don't want to deal with this anymore. Like, we're the ones, like, number one, we have 2 little children. So we're like fighting them to go here, to go there. We have to be here because the pictures are then. And it's just like so much more chaos and stress than it is fun and like holidays and love and laughter. And I'm like, no, I get that. I would move. I would be the first person to move my entire fucking family because I wouldn't deal with that either. And her parents, again, like I say normal, they just have like a traditional family. Mom and dad are still together. There's none of that. It's like come whenever. And obviously she feels like not resentful to her husband at all. But again, like he has this kind of dysfunctional family and she just like has to deal with it. And I think they're getting better at making boundaries, but it's just so hard. So you need to do it because nobody else is going to put their foot down for you. Like, nobody knows also how you're feeling probably. That's a part that I struggle with. Like, a lot of the dysfunction in my family, they don't see it as dysfunction. They don't think that they're the problem when they are, which, I'm a part to play. We're all a part to play in certain things, but it's like, sometimes it's really hard because you say, hey, I don't want to do this. And they're like, what the heck? And it's like, I can't be around you. And they don't see themselves as a problem. It's really hard. And I'm having to have a lot of harder conversations. And I, have been a people pleaser my entire life, and I still am that way to my core. And for example, I'm going to say this without getting too many details because this is my real life and I don't want to hurt anybody and I don't want to be airing out dirty laundry. But last Christmas, we dealt with a lot of things that we had no idea were happening, and we were disrespected a little bit. And while it was happening, we both put a smile on our face and were cordial and did what we have to do, me and Carter. But then after, I was like, holy shit, I cannot do that again. Like, it wasn't until after. And here's the thing with boundaries, like, you also don't realize what boundaries need to be placed until certain things happen or until you're treated a certain way and you're like, what the fuck just happened? Because I'm very much in the moment. Like, if something's happening that I'm not okay with, or I'm like, wait, what is going on? Or like, why is this person like acting this way? I'm like, okay, smile, wave, and then leave, and then like dissect and talk to Carter about the thing or whatever. And so you don't know a boundary until something happens to you and you're like, whoa, I did not like the way that made me feel. I did not feel like that was like good. I just like, I never want to do that again. And this is more so I'm speaking from my own mind, not really Carter's, but it wasn't until after the fact that I was like, holy shit, I'm never doing that again, these certain things. And he was like, no, totally. And we came together and we had conversations after the fact. We're like, hey, these are our boundaries. Like, we don't ever want to like come into a situation like this again. And that was that. And like, we are deciding together as a partnership that we are doing what we want to do and we are setting the boundaries we need to set. And if people don't align themselves with that, that's fine. But then we'll do our own thing. You know what I mean? So it's a hard thing, but I think if you are in a relationship, having that partner that's with you and just like no matter what, even if they aren't seeing, like you guys come to a decision and you guys are a team. And I want to make more videos about this and your partner and boundaries. And this is why like I firmly believe, oh my gosh, have you guys seen that TikTok video where the girl's like, I just realized that when you get married, your husband becomes your immediate family. And it's like, no shit. But like, if you are a person who like is controlled by your parents or your partner more so, I feel like girls are way better at this naturally, and not to shame men, but like men and their mothers, like their moms are still very involved, like finding a partner who is his own and makes his own decisions. Because if you are coming into like his weird family situation or splitting the holidays, but he is so deeply affected by his parents or like makes decisions because his mom told him he needs to be there for Christmas, or that if you're put in an uncomfortable position at Christmas and he can't stand beside you and be like, oh, I'll never let that happen again, like that is a big red flag. And it's just not even a red flag. I shouldn't have used that. It is just something you should think about down the road. Because again, like with Carter, thank God there are some things where I'm like, oh my God, if you didn't like, you know, even on my side though too, like things that we have dealt with, I'm like, if you didn't have my back, like we would have crumbled. You know, like if we didn't come together in this moment and like decide what's good for us, like I would have been out of here so fast, because like that is really important. And as life goes on, there's only harder things that are going to happen, things you're going to have to deal with, grief, like so many, career, I don't even know, children. So it's like y'all need to be on the same page. And if you feel like your partner's selfish or they don't, you know, decide things with you or listen to you when you felt uncomfortable in a situation, like that is something you need to evaluate and figure out, like if this happens, if that happens, like is my partner going to have my back and like be there with me? Just something to think about. Okay. And lastly, let me pull up my notes app. Somebody said, are the holidays stressful for you? Not really stressful, so to speak, but just like, again, anxiety. And a lot of it comes from different things. Like it used to be when I was like single and first moved to Dallas, like just going back to my hometown brought me a lot of anxiety. Like I just fucking hate that place. And now I'm coming to terms with it. And now, like, again, because I've created boundaries and I spend the most time with LaDonna and Gordy and I like do the things that I want to do and I stay at a certain place and sleep at a certain place. Like there was a lot of weirdness that happened in those early years when you have divorced parents, like, you know, one being upset that you're sleeping at the other's house and like that then affecting your time and just like all of these awkward things that I do deeply feel for other people. Like I typically wouldn't call myself an empathetic person, but Carter and I were talking about it, and I'm sure I've talked about it on this podcast. Like I do really, and it's why I get a lot of stress and anxiety. It has not a lot to do with me, but other people, and I feel sad for others, and I feel like I'm letting people down, or I'm not spending enough time, or even just like in the length of time. Like I go home, it's 3 days. I only see LaDonna and Gordy for like a day and a half. And then I come back and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I just feel sad for myself. You know, of course I have moments where I hate that I live so far. It is overall a good thing. Like I, you know, would not change that. I love living in Dallas. I also love the separation, but there's like a love and hate that comes with it. Like, again, like I was talking about with the ring, like I am a very different person. I like different things. Like I do have a different mindset now than my dad has. I still have a lot of the same firm beliefs and I believe that I'm a humble person, but it's like you go back to your hometown and you're like back in time. And then I feel weird about the new things that I am, even like the weird things. Like Carter and I, when we went home last year, he was like, we need to go to the gym. Like, let's go get a membership. And it brought me so much anxiety because I felt like every time that I go home pre-Carter, like I'm spending every second with a family member. That way they don't feel shorted. That way I'm doing my part. I feel good about it. And I was like, babe, and like working out is only an hour, but I'm like, I don't want to take time. And he's like, what? Like we're going to be sitting around all day. And he's so right. And in our life here, I would never miss a workout. I would never miss a walk. But when I go home, I like do these certain things and I don't necessarily like it. And I'm not always doing it for myself, but like weird shit like that even. And it's like, so it's hard to get rid of that. Like I just have these deep anxieties about things, and I don't know, and certain things have happened in the past that I've come and then I get a passive aggressive text from somebody because I didn't spend enough time, and I'm just like, oh, and then it makes me not want to go home. And every time I fly back, I get to Dallas and I'm like, oh, I'm so glad to be home. But then all of a sudden I feel guilt that I left North Dakota and I live hundreds, thousands of miles away. And the closer, like if something were to happen tomorrow, like I have to get a flight, it's expensive. Like there's a lot of like just so many feelings. And so the holidays, and then already just being stressful with going here and there. I love my family and I love everybody in my family, but it is a hard thing. And again, so many people have different dynamics, and you obviously know, and I try not to, I wish I could talk more about it, but I would just like hate if it ever affected her and made her feel bad. But just like the alcoholism is just like hard to be around, and then being subjected to, you know, going to a bar just to see the certain person or the partner that she's dating. And I'm just like, I hate that I have to put up with certain things. But like also I told you, like, family is not family. Like I don't believe in blood is thicker than water, but with certain family members, like this person should be an important person to me. So I feel like so much just guilt on how I feel about this person. And it's such a hard thing, and it stinks. And every time I leave LaDonna and Gordy's house, I'm bawling my eyes out, you guys. Every single time I look at LaDonna, like she's already crying and then I'm crying. I could cry right now. And it's just so sad. But like, yeah. And then I come home and I immediately feel better, and I love my life in Dallas, and I love Carter, and I love the life we're creating. But there's always going to be sadness and guilt and shame and just like weird things that like you don't want to be feeling. But you know, we all have these things, and I think it's relatable, and I think you guys will understand. And I hope this was like nice to talk about and validate your feelings, because I want this podcast to be like light and fun and airy, but I also want it to be real. And there are certain things I wish I could go more in depth about, but like while it's currently happening and like, or, you know, these people are a part of my life, I don't want to divulge too much because I don't ever want to hurt people and, you know, upset anybody. But it is not real life when people just talk about the positive, and like to say that the holidays aren't stressful or like anxiety inducing. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, that's all it is for me. I'm like, oh, they're coming. I got to do this, this, and this. I got to see this, this, and this. Like, it can be a lot. And like, that doesn't mean it's not good. Like, I go home and I love Christmas and everybody's laughing and LaDonna makes the best food and I love my time with everybody, of course. But there's also good with the bad and bad with the good, and that's just that. But I hope this was relatable. I hope you guys understand. I hope it was helpful. All in all, do what you need to do. Oh, one question I did not answer: grieving. If you have recently lost a parent, a grandparent, a sibling, like, and this is something I can't really speak on because I've only lost one grandparent so far, my grandpa, who I only saw a few times a year, so it didn't have a big impact on me. But I cannot imagine the sadness you're feeling. And of course, this is like the hard thing. And as we get older, I was reading this book, and I think it's in the book I'm reading right now, The Fury by Michael, I don't know how to spell his last name, Alex Michaeliandius or something. And it had a quote in there, and it's a fiction book, but it was like the first half of your life is like naivety and like, you know, bliss and whatever. And the second half of your life is like grief, because as we get older, we obviously lose people, grandparents, parents, and I don't know what that's like yet. And obviously the holidays are supposed to be a fun, wonderful time. But when you lose somebody, the closest thing I have to understand this feeling is LaDonna had a son who committed suicide, and I was 5 at the time. So like, this was now 20 some years ago. And about 20 years ago, 21, 22, whatever. And now I talk to her about it and she's in a better place, but I cannot even imagine what that was like for her, putting on Christmas for everybody when she lost a son, okay, which nobody should ever lose. And you are creating now new traditions, but all you want is that person to be there. And if you just lost, I don't know, or even if it's been 10 years, like, these things are so ingrained in us, like those memories and those traditions. And I think what you should do is be sad. be sad, grieve. Like, don't ever, if you cry in the middle of Christmas dinner, like, everybody can understand. I would create new traditions. I would do what you need to do to take care of yourself. And if that means like going to grandma's house triggers you too much, don't go to grandma's house. Like, it's going to be okay, because it's not the same anyways. I think a lot of the time, like when something happens, we try and do the thing and pretend like nothing happened. And it's like, no, this is like a different world you're living in now. If you lost a human, whoever this is, like, this is no longer the same life you were living before. So to go back to grandma's and pretend and act like it's the same tradition, it's not. That person is not there. So like, you not going is totally fine. It's not the same. And you need to create the new things that make you feel good. If every year you do something in their honor, something that you guys did together that they loved, or like whatever that thing is, but be sad and don't ever feel bad about it, because grief is something I'm honestly so terrified of. Like, obviously I think about LaDonna and Gordy, and I'm not even going to like really think about it right now, but I'm like, oh my God, I cannot imagine. So just know that you are loved, and it's going to look different, and it probably has looked different if it's been years, but do what you need to do. Take care of yourself. Lean though on your friends and family, whoever's there for you, and somewhat gets it, or don't even get it, but just like talk and like do whatever it is you need to do. And the holidays, again, you go online and you see the decorations and you see like everybody in the family, and like I always see things online, and like a daughter and her parents behind her, and they're doing a cutesy little video, and I'm like, I could never do that with either of my parents together, individually. And like, I don't feel envious, because I am a firm believer that everything happened how it should, and I like, my childhood was great and I love my individual relationships, but it's easy to like see things online and like a happy family and they're hugging, which, number one, not everything is what it seems. Like, that family could have just as much, if not more, chaos, but you're seeing this little clip. But also too, like, don't ever feel bad for the family that you were brought up in, that your traditions, like, you were brought into this world in certain circumstances, and don't compare yourself, and don't feel bad about feeling anxious, feeling shame, feeling guilt, feeling grief. Like, that's so normal. And a lot of people are also probably in the same exact boat as you. But yeah. Okay, you guys, I hope this was enjoyable. I hope it wasn't too serious and like sad, but I don't know. I think this is good to talk about. I think we talk about the good and the bad and the real. Okay, but I love you guys. I hope you have the best week, and I'll see you next week. Okay, bye guys.